I, 30 female, met my husband Stephen, 32, at a friend's, who was a cousin's, party. We instantly connected and started dating not long after. We've been happily married for 5 years and have an infant son. I met my mother-in-law at his uncle's funeral, and he asked me to attend in support of him. Before we left, his cousin warned me about mother-in-law. He said she wasn't the nicest person, had impossibly high standards to meet, and could be judgmental. So don't take it personally, as she's like that with everyone. I did ask my husband, and he agreed that mother-in-law can be pretty judgmental, but not to worry, that he'll be there for me. I felt like they gave me this sugar-coated version of her because she was terrible. She made a scene about bringing a stranger to the family funeral, but my husband cut her off and said his aunt, who was his uncle's widow, said he could. She spent the rest of the funeral giving me nasty looks and making passive-aggressive comments. She made a scene at our wedding, but that's a different story on its own. But after minimal contact with mother-in-law, my husband eventually got around to telling her that I was pregnant. I expected her to be angry and have a go at him, but she surprised us both and was the complete opposite. She was excited about being a grandmother. She congratulated us. Her attitude turned completely, and I grudgingly allowed her to visit. When it was time to give birth to my son, she wanted to see my son being born, but I refused. That's when her ugly side reared its head again, and she caused a scene and was thrown out. I refused to let her visit us at home, and my husband agreed, but she rang crying and apologizing. She said she was just overwhelmed about being a grandmother, and her emotions got the better of her. Against my better judgment, I relented and said, okay. When she first held him, she looked at me and said he was beautiful. I went into the kitchen to get us a drink, and then I heard my husband telling her to get out. I went back in. She started yelling he needed to get the baby tested because he didn't look like anyone in their family. He kicked her out. She took it to social media and told everyone that I cheated on my husband and that my husband needed to get a DNA test to prove he was the dad. She got a lot of attention for that. So I made my own post and said I'll get a test when she gets a test for her son. That just made everything worse. She rang my husband up telling him to take it down. He just hung up on her. Everyone divided and questioned my husband's paternity since she had such a strong reaction to it. Now even my husband is starting to wonder and is making me feel I went too far. And I'm thinking I'm wrong for saying that. Am I the idiot for telling my mother-in-law? If she expects me to get a DNA test for my son, then I'll do it after she gets a DNA test for my husband. Not the idiot, and I'm incredibly proud of you for coming up with that response. What's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. You asked her to do precisely the same thing she was demanding of you. Perfect. Keep holding your ground and just tell her to stop spouting lies about you on social media, or you will continue to embarrass her on your own account, and she can face the consequences of her own actions. I agree. If she wants to make her delusions public, she can handle your public response. If you don't want a witch hunt, don't make a pyre. She doesn't sound stable at all, and I would be worried about what she would do around the child. Even if she was just another weirdly enmeshed boy mom, that mood swing, going from one extreme to another in a blink of an eye, goes beyond idiot into dangerous territory. Also, her demanding to see the birth and immediately taking to social media also indicates she has no concept of boundaries. OMG, I would enjoy this greatly. She would get gifts from me wrapped with a bow, Xmas, DNA home test, birthday, DNA home test, Mother's Day, DNA home test. I might send them to her from Amazon randomly as a pick-me-up for myself. Be the whirlwind. Oh, and please include a note that says, normal people would be getting a framed photo of their grandson, but you went this way. Hope it was worth it. I love that OP's husband questioned who his own father is, not if he's the father of his own child with OP. She married a good one. Honey, your mother-in-law is deranged. Women like this often project, so while you may have just been playing her at her own game, You may have accidentally hit a nail right on the head. Have no contact with her ever again, and move on with your drama-free lives, enjoying your beautiful new baby and amazing husband. I've been with my husband for 22 years. We have 4 children, ages 20, nearly adult, a young grammar schooler, and a newborn. Before my youngest, I had given birth to my angel baby, who lived 8 minutes and was born prematurely. My next child was born with Down syndrome and a heart defect. She needed multiple surgeries at birth but is now thriving. I know you guys are probably thinking, why would I have another baby after this? It really wasn't planned. My mother had said since the beginning of my pregnancy about termination, how I'm too old, and how something certainly will be wrong with this baby as well. It was stressful and heart-wrenching. My husband told me I shouldn't tell her when I was going into labor because she would make it stressful for me. 9 days ago, I gave birth to my healthy baby girl at the age of 44, no health issues. After I came home and rested for a few days, I invited my mother over. When she got there, she began to cry and said she couldn't believe I would exclude her. I told her I had no other choice, that she wasn't a healthy person to be around for my pregnancy. She accused me of silencing her freedom of speech and how she was only warning me and not setting me up for heartbreak. I said, no, you made me worry more than I needed to. She then said I did this out of revenge and vindictiveness, and not for my own sake, but for my own satisfaction. We got into an argument, and my husband asked her to leave. I've been upset for days and she hasn't answered my calls. I really thought I was doing the right thing for myself, but now I feel selfish. Am I the idiot? Most importantly, congratulations on your sweet new baby. Secondly, congratulations on marrying a partner with a spine who has your back and will defend you. Finally, not the idiot. 99% of the time, using freedom of speech as an excuse means you're wrong. She knew she was pushing buttons and she was out of line. She only hopes you'll knuckle under and apologize to her, thereby rationalizing her bad behavior. Having a baby is one of the most vulnerable times in a woman's life. You should be surrounding yourself with support, help, and love. She can have all of her hurt feelings, but you're not in the wrong. Consider treading carefully here in the future. She may be as vindictive as she thinks you are. Freedom of speech protects you from the government, not the Justin. It's a concept that means you can say what you like without being arrested, not if we pass to be a jerk to people or guarantee that what you say will be well received. Congratulations on a healthy baby girl. Your mother's reaction to seeing you'd had such a fortunate and wonderful event was to cry for herself. She seems very nice. It's a shame you seem so desperately inclined to believe that she'll magically change her mind about how she feels about you one day. Your husband seems to be willing and able to protect you, and he seems to adore you, and you have a terrific family. Why do you let someone so destructive play any role in your life? Time to block your mother yourself, OP, for your sake and the sake of your family. My husband and I welcomed our son into the world in November. We chose the name Reed for him after some searching. Neither of us got our first choice, but we loved the name, and we believe it fits our son beautifully. I knew my son's name was a bit of a standout among my family. They like to reuse the same names that are popular and seem to always float pretty high in naming charts. For boys, the top 3 names in our family are James, Benjamin, and William, but Reed isn't a weird or unheard of name. My family were all quiet when we announced the name, and almost immediately, they started dropping comments about people making weird naming choices for their children, which never directly mentioned my husband and me, but we both felt it was aimed at us. Then they commented a few times how there's nothing wrong with good, solid, classic names that everyone knows and loves and reuses. But then they started to say Reed was an odd choice, or that they had no idea where we found such a name, even though it's in the top 400 choices. My parents accused me of trying to be trendy and not thinking about my son's future. I decided to confront my family without my husband present because I felt it wasn't fair to drag him into it more. I asked them what their problem was and why they were being so mean about the name. They told me they hated Reed. and they all felt it was a very unattractive name. And we didn't think it through at all. They told me we should have reconsidered and given him a real name, not something trendy that came up in the last 20 to 30 years. They said we had so many beautiful names to choose from, and we made a horrible decision. Then they said they had tried gently showing us the light, but we ignored their efforts. I told them if their comments about my son's name were supposed to make me regret the choice, then they failed, because all it did was make me regret them, because they're being rude and hurtful. My family didn't take my comment well and told me I was being rude and I was behaving like a child who couldn't accept the truth. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Sounds like your family is heavily invested in conformity. How boring and uncreative. Congratulations on giving your son a name you both liked. When we named our son, we very consciously avoided recycling family names because we considered them to have baggage, good and bad, and invited unnecessary comparisons to the namesake. On another note, I applaud your consideration for your husband. It would have been annoying to subject him to your family's vapid complaints. Speaking of recycling names, there's a superstition in my culture that if you name a baby after a living person in your family, that person will die. If OP's family is easily unnerved, I'd start rolling that out at every opportunity. LOL. Yep, we don't name people after living people in our family either. Your family is a bunch of idiots. I struggle to imagine what it's like being so inflexibly wedded to old-fashioned names that they hate the name you picked out for your child. How wildly petty of them. Reed is not an odd name. I've met several in my 30 years. Your family's being incredibly rude about this, and I would be worried about them making rude comments to your son in the future. My husband's sister is getting married next month. I'm on the border of my first and second trimester right now. Currently, my in-laws are visiting my husband and me in our country. I got hospitalized twice with a threatened miscarriage, and while the baby and I are thankfully okay, I've been put on bed rest. Mother-in-law offered to stay with us till the wedding, when we would have traveled to their home for the wedding anyway. She'll still be there for most of the month before the wedding. She just won't be available to run errands. So, to be clear, my mother-in-law will absolutely not miss the wedding, the last-minute stuff, the bridal shower, etc., in any way. She's staying with me for 14 days. I haven't said yes either way, but I guess she told sister-in-law because she reached out and was like, obviously, I want mom at home, but if you're not well, then I'm happy for her to stay with you guys, and I'll just figure out the rest of the wedding planning myself. I guess her fiancé doesn't agree. He's been texting me saying that I'm being overdramatic and I'm too young to need bed rest and I'm sabotaging their wedding because I can't be bothered to look after the child I already have and that I don't need accommodation for the one in me. I feel bad because my mother-in-law has been the driving force in organizing the wedding, and I guess I could just figure things out and deal with the consequences. I don't want to be the reason my sister-in-law's wedding ends up slapdash, or indeed, keep her parents away from her in her last month as a singleton. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You don't owe the dumb groom an explanation. Let him screw around and find out. I promise plenty of women and men will put him in check. You do what your doctor says and take care of yourself. If anyone has a problem with that, it's their issue. If I were the bride, I would have doubts as to whether I really wanted to marry the guy. Is this fiancé a doctor? Is he experienced with complicated pregnancies? Is he getting stuck with more planning and complaining because mother-in-law isn't there to handle the details? The nerve of this guy. Mother-in-law's doing this willingly, so fiancé needs to step up and quit his griping. He's not a doctor, but does have a PhD in being an idiot. I'd be texting sister-in-law to get her groom in check. Neither has any right to your medical info, nor does either have any say over you at all. Their wedding isn't your problem. Growing that baby safely is your only concern. Why isn't your husband dealing with this? He needs to shut that idiot brother-in-law up now. I suspect he was counting on your mother-in-law's help with the wedding, so he wouldn't have to lift a finger. Semi-update. Showed husband brother-in-law's messages when he woke up. He was displeased, I guess you could say. He took my phone and showed his mom. She came into my room and looked mad too, but she was very apologetic and said she would take care of this. I think they'll talk to my sister-in-law when the time zone permits, so we'll see what happens then. I, nearly adult female, just recently found out that my sister, 21, is pregnant, and after she told me, she said that she wants us to swap rooms because my room would be more convenient for her to have. The main reasons she wants to swap are because my room is downstairs and hers is upstairs, and she doesn't want to have to carry a baby up and down the stairs constantly, and she wants to easily be able to take the pram into her room. My room is also closer to the kitchen, has more storage space, and has an ensuite. Her room is bigger than mine, so I don't know why she would want a smaller room, even though she's going to have more things to put in it. And although she doesn't have an ensuite, there's a bathroom right beside her room, so it's not like she has to walk a mile for a bathroom or anything. But the main reason I don't want to swap is that my room has just been freshly painted and had new flooring put in, so I don't want to just change rooms and have it basically been done for nothing. And I told her that, and she said it was selfish of me to not want to give her my room, which is hypocritical because I asked if I could swap rooms with her ages ago, and she said no, but now that she wants mine, it's selfish of me not to give it to her. She started going on about how I had no idea how hard it would be for her and a bunch of other stuff to try to make me feel bad, but I basically told her I didn't care how much she asked for it. I'm not swapping. Edit. She pays rent, and I didn't pay for my room to be done. My parents did. She's not with the baby's dad anymore, and he still lives with his family as well. I'm going to say you are the idiot, given your clarification that you're both living in your parents' house, and they're the ones who paid for the new flooring, etc. It sounds like both of your rooms are their rooms, and to your sister's point, it's easier to care for a newborn on the ground floor with an ensuite bathroom. That said, the newborn coming home is going to affect you, so I hope your whole family, everyone who lives there, can sit down and discuss what arrangements make sense. Agree. Sister's reasons are valid. If she has a difficult birth or even a C-section, climbing the stairs may be a problem for her, on top of what she said. And if she's bottle feeding, your sister and the baby will be in and out of the kitchen at least every couple of hours, 24 hours a day, for months. Lord, I hope she doesn't trip while carrying the baby up the stairs. OP, I hope someone treats you the same if you're ever pregnant. That's a weird take. You are not the idiot. Tell your sister you see the best solution for her is to move out and get her own place. If she's old enough to reproduce, she's old enough to live out from under her parents' roof. Her lack of planning is not your responsibility. Where's the baby's daddy living? She might even consider moving in with him.